disputes, such as the ACA and the employer mandate, such as DACA, and such as the welfare work requirements. These are broad policy disputes, not particularized injuries. And the court went on to point out that if one of the members of Congress were to retire tomorrow, he would no longer have a general claim. The claim would be possessed by his successor instead. The claimed injury, referring to policy disputes, attaches to the member's seat, a seat which the member holds as trustee for his constituents, not as a prerogative of personal power. In other words, there is no standing for members of Congress to bring a lawsuit against the president in the context of a policy dispute.
Well, thank you so much for that clarification, Mr. Jeffrey. So this doesn't pass a constitutional test. It doesn't pass a legal test. And it doesn't even pass the laugh test. Because I can tell you, for folk who have sued, who have pursued repeal of the Affordable Care Act for over 50 times, not wanting to implement the employer mandate, to turn around and say we've been injured because the president delayed, does not pass the laugh test. I tell you, I have been elected and served as a public servant since 1988. And I can tell you that Republicans have continuously chastised Democrats for their frivolous lawsuits. Republicans have continuously claimed that people who have been injured by products, consumer products, should have a cap on their claims. And yet, this frivolous lawsuit will cost hundreds of millions of dollars. So while it may not have any standing, Mr. Jeffries, it certainly will cost hundreds of millions of dollars before that ruling will be made. As a matter of fact, in this do-nothing Congress, we have, in fact, wasted money. It's not only that we've wasted time, we have wasted money. Some examples on what we have done so far. We've spent $79 million so far in over 50 attacks on the Affordable Care Act. We've even shut the government down for $24 billion, that's billion with the B, dollars. So how much is it going to cost us to once again promote this frivolous lawsuit? We're in session. This is the last week of Congress. And are we going to talk about helping young people with unaffordable interest rates on student loans? No. Are we going to talk about extending and reauthorizing the Export-Import Bank to help manufacturers that are in my district? No. Talk about providing unemployment compensation for people who are suffering with no income and no fault of their own because the economy is still like, no. Are we going to talk about raising the minimum wage? Are we going to talk about reauthorizing terrorism risk insurance? No. And are we going to talk about whether or not we will provide monies to humanely and adequately discuss the crisis on the borders of our country, the influx of children escaping violence in their home community? No, no, no. We're going to sue the President of the United States. This does not pass the legal test, constitutional test, and it doesn't pass the laugh test.
I thank the distinguished gentlelady from Wisconsin for a very eloquent and sharp observations with respect to the lack of merit to the GOP lawsuit that they are going to proceed with this week. We've now also been joined by another distinguished member of the Budget Committee, someone who is a voice for the voiceless, a champion for the poor, a fighter for the district that she represents in Congress, the distinguished gentle lady from California, Representative Barbara Lee.
Thank you very much. Let me thank you, Congressman Jeffries, first of all, for your kind words and also for your continued leadership on this issue and so many other issues, and especially in helping us once again beat the drum on behalf of the American people to make sure that people know exactly what the Republican Tea Party members are engaged in this body. So thank you very much to you and Congressman Horsford for this. Also, I just want to say to Congresswoman Fudge, our chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, I want to thank her for her diligent work as chair, and especially in her continuing efforts to fight against the extreme ideology that deters us from the real work our constituents sent us here to do. Once again, we're calling now tonight on Congress to get back to work, putting Americans back to work. Rather than working together to create jobs, my Republican colleagues are pursuing a completely baseless lawsuit against President Obama at the expense of the American taxpayer. Mind you, never before has a sitting president been sued, not once. This lawsuit is nothing more than a political ploy designed for those who really want impeachment without cause. These Tea Party Republicans are driving the Republican Party to become so extreme and too conservative for the American people. To provide just one example, instead of voting on bipartisan immigration reform that will keep our families together, grow our economy, enhance national security, the House has voted more than 50 times to repeal real health care reform that provides 54 million people with vital preventive health services, like cancer screenings. We were sent here to Washington to help enhance the quality of life for the American people, not to engage in these lawsuits against the president for no reason. We were sent to Washington to make America a better place, to create jobs, to grow the economy, to lift up the most vulnerable, and to build ladders of opportunity for the 46.5 million Americans, including 6 million children, living in poverty today. This lawsuit is another example of the unfounded and wasteful and really unconscionable attacks on our president, who was twice elected by the American people. He does nothing to help the American people. And I tell you, it's really troubling to see the extremists in the Republican Party marching down a path that's not based on fact. But again, it's really nothing more than a political sideshow aimed at building its base. But it's a serious effort, I must say. Remember when President Obama, Congressman Jeffries, remember when he was first elected, Senator Mitch McConnell said that their goal was to make President Obama a one-term president? Well, they didn't accomplish their goal. So now they're trying something else. And really, it's quite shameful. And the fact is that it's being funded with taxpayer dollars. This is nothing short than a violation of our constituents' trust. It's exactly like the $2.3 million spent to preserve discrimination during the DOMA case. There's no constitutional or judicial precedent to adjudicate political disputes in the courts. We're ready and willing and able to have a serious conversation about creating opportunities into the middle class for people who are fighting and aspiring to become part of the middle class, who are living on the edges and on the margins. We're ready, and we've been fighting for this, and we want to have some consensus with the Republicans so we can move forward on this, rather than filing lawsuits to detract from the real work that the Republicans once again refuse to do. Every day I hear from my constituents about their real struggles. Too many of our constituents are looking for work. Too many are working full-time, and they're still living on the edge in poverty. 1 in 5 American children still lives in poverty. Too many people in my district and throughout the country face real challenges, challenges that Republicans continue to ignore while pursuing an ideologically motivated lawsuit. It's about time we put these political ploys aside and get back to work. We need to stop this